Welcome back. It's Tim and Julie Harris, and this is your favorite daily real estate podcast. And it is going to be a humdinger today. How about that, Julie? Humdinger.
Humdinger. Good warning.
It's cracking the luxury code, 5 steps to success for real estate agents. And we have had this request a lot because a lot of you have woken up to the realization that once you have learned how to sell real estate to, let's say, average sale price owners and sellers and buyers, that it's not that much of a leap to double, triple, quadruple your average sale price. And frankly, when you do so, you might discover that it's actually easier than it was to sell luxury homes than it is to sell normal priced homes. Because guess what? There's less competition, believe it or not. And the competition, generally speaking, isn't as experienced because they can make so much money doing so many fewer transactions. So the best luxury agents in the world that we've ever coached have always been ones that were not born into luxury real estate. They're the ones that earned their way up to luxury real estate, but they are really fantastic at luxury real estate because they know how to do production, sell at high volumes. Hopefully that makes sense, Julie.
Yeah, that's right. It's people that have moved up the ladder or maybe have transplanted themselves. We've had some elite coaching clients that, started out selling bread and butter, meat and potatoes, normal houses, which, by the way, that's not so bad considering that the average sale price is so high. I got news for you guys. The average sale price now used to be the luxury sale price, and not actually that long ago. But let's say that you do want to move that up. We've had a lot of elite coaching clients that have said, you know what? I know how to sell houses. I sell tons of houses in choose your normal market, but I've always wanted to live in Miami. I want to get out of the snow, and I want my average sale price to be 2 or 3 million. And those are really great, fun clients to work with because you do have the skill. And to your point, Tim, they're naturally more competitive because they've been through more transactions. They're more experienced, and they're kind of like, bring it on. So go ahead.
Well, I had a call yesterday with an elite coaching client that wanted to be in my schedule. And that elite coaching client was someone who they'd heard us tell our stories. And you, Julie, have some coaching clients of clients who started out in selling in normal price areas, and then they moved to more expensive areas. And they wanted to create a plan to do the same thing. And they wanted to move from, it was like North Dakota to Arizona. Right.
Yeah, that's right.
And they wanted to do that as fast as possible. And so that's a new elite coaching client, which I'm really looking forward to because they have a specific goal in mind. And now we're going to set essentially the date in which they're going to have it accomplished by. And that's going to be a lot of fun. They're going to reestablish themselves in this new market. This person actually didn't ask this question directly, but they're inferring the question. So Tim and Julie, if you guys were to get back into real estate, what would be sort of the tenets of the market you would choose, and what would you do to lead generate and all the rest of it? And our answer should be obvious if you guys listen to this show every day, as thousands of you do. Number one, we would definitely move to an area where the average sale price was about as high as it could possibly be. And that market would have to have enough velocity. It can't just be an expensive area where the homes never sell. So we'd look for that. And there's zillions of markets like that around the country. Number two is we would work primarily on building a really robust center of influence and past client list.
Immediately.
Now, immediately. Now, the center of influence and past client, as if you're moving to a new market, for example, and maybe you're moving from a normal price range and you're moving across town and you're moving to a luxury price range. So effectively, you're moving, from North Dakota, Arizona, right? Same idea. But you can still create a 12-month plan, and we have that in our coaching program where it helps you to pre-schedule, obviously, real social events, going to the gym, things like that. So you can proactively build your center of influence and past client list. But that in itself isn't going to help create transaction volume right away. So the third thing we would definitely do, choose your market wisely, center of influence, past client, expired listings, 100%. Because many of these most expensive markets across the country are for the first time seeing the listings expire. And you're seeing a lot of sellers who've only been buying and selling real estate while the market was hockey sticking. So they've never experienced a house that wouldn't sell, which means the previous listing agent was probably the agent that they'd worked with on previous transactions, but that agent just failed to sell the house for them. So that means they're going to be receptive to hiring somebody new and establishing a new relationship. So those are the three things that we would do for sure. But what we're going to do now is we're going to drill down an exact action plan that you can be doing. And this is 5 simple steps on how you can actually be breaking into the luxury real estate market. Remember, you want all these notes. Here are the notes. Ready? Here they are. Oh, it's 3 pages. All right. So if you want all these notes, just go to harrisrealestatedaily.com and subscribe to the newsletter. harrisrealestatedaily.com is our newsletter that costs you nothing. All you got to do is go to harrisrealestatedaily.com. The link is also down below. And then just drop in your email address. We do send you a double opt-in to confirm you want the subscription. And then you have immediate access to all of our notes. If you're like, we've got a lot of people over in eXp Realty who are using a lot of our notes to coach and train their teams, their revenue share groups or whatever. And that's great. We have some of you that are using our content or versions of our content for your social media. That's fantastic. You're using it as intended. You're using it so that you can become better as a real estate practitioner and help other agents do the same thing. So go to harrisrealestatedaily.com and subscribe to the newsletter. It doesn't cost you anything. It takes 2 seconds to do so. Julie, let's jump right in.
All right. And remember, this is just the podcast. We talk about this topic extensively, both with premier coaching clients and especially our elite coaching clients. This is just to get your gears working. So again, 5 steps for success for cracking the luxury code. Number 1 is, and Tim, you talked about this a little bit, networking with high net worth individuals. Be where they are. Attend upscale events, join exclusive clubs, and immerse yourself in the luxury lifestyle communities. Your environment matters, so upgrade your center of influence with intention. Commit to 10x your efforts on this particular point, and you'll find organic leads almost immediately. As you said, Tim, if we were to be dropped in our choice market, if we were to just, go full speed ahead into selling real estate, this is the first thing and the very intense thing that we would set up. Not just dabbling. A lot of agents are like pretty good socially and they do some stuff. But to do, I think it's in one of my next points, use meetup.com, use Google News Alerts for charity events, Facebook, WhatsApp groups, focused on high-end events, and become active in each. Don't just dabble.
But
Create
Julie,
a social calendar. My elite coaching clients have this. They have a social calendar focusing on this. Go ahead.
Well, let's pretend you and I were to start selling real estate where we live in Puerto Rico and Dorado, right? And we just moved there and we wanted to sell real estate there. What would we do? We would find out, frankly, a lot of the real estate decisions are made by women primarily, right?
Sure.
So you would find out what women's
I'll give you the list right off the top of my head. I'd be, assuming you have kids in school, okay, no matter what age, pre-K on up, I'd be very involved in school functions because that's where you see like-minded people that are doing some of the same activities you are. The second thing is I go to the gym every day and talk about real estate. I would go to women's groups. There's a lot of different, there's all sorts of different things that they do. There's organized walking clubs. There's cooking clubs. There's gardening clubs. There's dog rescue. There's all sorts of things. But I wouldn't do just 1 or 2 things, and I wouldn't do them just when they randomly popped up in my calendar. I would set up so that I was doing, just going to the gym 5 days a week covers you on some, but that's kind of the same people all the time. So you want to do more than that. I would do that. I would make sure I was doing at least 3, I call them center of influence building events every week. That can be a charitable event. It can be a business network like Young Entrepreneurs Club. Some of you guys are in investor groups, stuff like that. But I would make sure I was doing like 10x what I normally would do if you want this to happen faster.
Well, and you wouldn't go there intentionally. You wouldn't go there and just have
hey, want to buy a house?
Exactly. No. And but at the same time, you wouldn't be a secret agent. So the moral of the story is be yourself doing what you love to do around other people that have the same interests, and you'll find the conversation naturally flows back to, hey, where are you from? What do you do?
Using the Ford script that we teach in coaching.
And most people, remember guys, most people make a decision who they're going to use as a real estate practitioner. And this is especially true in the upper end, based on centers of influence and past clients, based on somebody that they know, based on a referral from somebody they know. Less than 10%, arguably less than 5% of anybody hires any service professional based on advertising, promotion, billboard, that's whatever. Right. It's a tiny percent. So if you want to be the person that people know, you have to get off your butts away from your keyboards and you have to go out there and actually meet people. Julie mentioned the gym. This is a little silly detail, but it matters. You need to make sure you're forming real relationships with people when you're at these different networking gym type events. So maybe you go, there's 7 days of the week. You go to the gym every day, including maybe not Sunday, but you guys get the idea. So let's say you go 6 days of the week. Go when most people are there, which is going to be in the morning, but on Monday, Wednesday, but do organized classes, because versus just walking around with your ball cap on, your earbuds in, you know who I'm talking to. I'm talking about you guys, because that's mostly what men do. But go when there's peak people and do the organized classes. Those are the environments where it's easiest to get to know people. If you're in a community where there's, Orange Theory or some other thing like that, sign up for that. But like on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, go at like 8 o'clock. And on Tuesday, Thursday, go like at 9 o'clock. And then on Saturday, go at like 11. And then you're going to get to know these different groups. And they're totally different friend groups. You're then going to be able to build a really impressive center of influence past client thing. So if you do that in the morning and you do other things and you pre-schedule it, like, we're doing this with all of our elite clients because this is the future because of AI, where the agents who are doing this type of work, belly to belly, face to face, they're the ones that are going to be making all the money because people are naturally going to want to do business with the people they already know, love, and trust. And that's going to be you as long as they, know, love, and trust you. And you're going to actually have to make an effort. And you cannot do that digitally. Julie?
Well, and that's why you want to do it repetitively and on a schedule, right? You'll be far more effective when you're doing organized gym classes. Like for me, it's kettlebells, right? Because I'm actually getting to know people and they're getting to know me, and it's easier to just organically talk about real estate versus maybe you go to the gym 5 days a week, but you're always seeing different people. You're wandering around. Sometimes you're talking to them, sometimes you're not. You never really get to know people as well as when you do at least some of that organized, repetitive getting to know you. And that goes for book clubs. It goes for other things too.
I know people who are really into old Porsches. And what they do is they basically have developed a friend group around Porsche meetups in Southern California in particular. And they also sell real estate, and they got almost all the real estate business from that center of influence path. I know a loan officer. We met him last year in Monterey. Julie, do you remember this guy who used to be the Ferrari race car driver?
Yeah.
So do you know he was a loan officer? Did I tell you that?
No, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
funny.
of course. He's a loan officer. Okay. And so he's a loan officer, but he's heavily involved in all these little car communities in Southern California and gets all of his mortgage business from those little car communities.
Sure, but I'm sure he didn't roll into the first meeting and say, "Hey, do you need a mortgage?" No, he got to know people. One of my elite coaching clients has the homework of going to the Los Angeles Cars and Coffee to get to know people and to, he's into cars and that's a great network. Why? Because you have a common interest. You're going to start out by talking about cars, but then that's going to migrate to other things, right?
And this is critical because remember, today's focus is luxury real estate, because that's how people in the very upper end go about choosing more than any other segment who they're, if you're rubbing elbows with other people who are also in your same upper end demographic, you're going to assume that they're smart, and you're going to assume that they've already sorted out who the honest players are for them to use as their real estate practitioner. So you just leverage that. That's just how upper end people think.
It's absolutely. I was thinking about where we live in Dorado and Ritz-Carlton, right? We weren't born there. We moved there. We didn't know anybody, right? 100% of the people who are our service providers came through our center of influence, right? So that's all point number one, networking with high net worth individuals, be where they are and get to know them. Number two is to specialize and showcase your expertise. You can't be an expert at absolutely everything. You'll get, too thin. Pick your niche, specialize in specific property types or prestigious neighborhoods, whether it's luxury beachfront condos, equestrian estates. I have one coaching client that does wineries, gated golf course communities. Choose and become an expert at that thing. Now, how do you do that? Preview with purpose, tour luxury new construction, especially preview high-end resale homes, and learn everything you can about the local architecture, the builders, the design trends, the history. If you want to sell more luxury homes, educate yourself on everything luxury. You can't just move there and expect it to happen to you. Make sense, Tim?
Does Rob Johnson, for example, he hired Julie and I to be his elite coaches. We both coached him, not at the same time, but and he became the #1 agent with his brokerage in Greenwich, Connecticut. Now, Greenwich, Connecticut, for those of you who don't know, is one of the most expensive areas in the United States, if not the world, to own a home. So Rob's goal when he got in was he wanted to be the #1 agent in Greenwich, Connecticut. I've had him on the podcast a few times. You guys know who he is. He's become somewhat famous amongst the very, very, very upper end in real estate. He had a sale for $50 million. One of the most expensive sales in the country that particular year, maybe ever. All right. So Rob specializes in homes that are over a certain price point. He'll sell lesser expensive ones, but homes that are on the water. So what he and I did when he hired Julie and I as his elite coach is he said, this is what I want. He was brand new in real estate practically. He said, this is what I want to do. These are my goals. I want to sell this. I want to sell this, all this. And that's what we did. And we made him an expert at where he wanted to be. By the way, he himself lived in one of those homes. He had made a lot of money on Wall Street. And now this real estate was his second career, and he's done amazingly well. One of the nicest, kindest, most wonderful people I've ever personally coached. That's an elite coaching client. That's the level of people that we're looking for in our personal schedule as Julie and I, accept a few new elite coaching clients. If you think that's you, text me directly with a little bit of information on yourself, 512-758-0206. All right, Julie, next point.
Next point is number 3, partner with luxury service providers. These are like your professional center of influence times X, right? Times 10. Strategic partnerships win. Align yourself with top tier service professionals, interior designers, stagers, wealth managers, luxury car dealers, concierge services, private bankers, attorneys, the list goes on. That's just a few people, right? You can be part of yacht clubs, country clubs, private galleries, high-end gyms. These are all things that our coaching clients do. They're not just social spots. There are doors into new luxury opportunities, assuming that you don't act like a secret agent. This is how you grow your influence. These partnerships help you offer your own white glove service while expanding your high net worth network. It's giving you a gateway to people that you don't yet know. Again, this is all building your center of influence. Okay.
Well, hold on.
Go ahead.
So if you're in LA or if you're in New York, for example, using Julius as an example, business managers are a great gateway drug to high-end clients. If you're in LA and you're wanting to start working with celebrities, I had Ben Salem for years. He was an elite coaching client. You guys can Google him. He still is selling some of the most expensive real estate. He lives up the way from Kim Kardashian. Okay. So his deal is that he wanted to figure out how to start getting direct relationships with some of these high-end celebrity, hard to get in contact with types. He did not come from that world. He did not go to those parties. He didn't have any of those connections. So he thought, well, I'll just go to the business managers. So the business managers in LA and New York, they essentially manage all financial aspects of their clients. They literally will go to the point of helping them choose a house, helping them make travel plans. All aspects of their life. It sounds nice, right? All aspects of their life are managed by this business manager. Well, Ben made a list of who he found out who the top business managers were. Ben then, romanced them. They went to basketball games together. They went skiing together. He would, while he was doing his normal business, he started to build these relationships with these business managers. Oh, so-and-so, so-and-so. And the other thing he and I did is we created a little system in place where he could call them, basically cold call them and say, essentially, listen, and maybe he had, different, it's worth mentioning, different business managers for different industries. So you'll have a business manager that only wants to work with, recording artists. You'll have a business manager that only wants to work with actors. But then you'll also have business managers that only want to work with dentists or maybe real estate agents or chiropractics. I know this sounds crazy, but that's how it works. Because if you're a business manager and you're used to managing a dentist's financial life, this is not an accountant, though they might have an accountancy. This is someone that's over all of that. And they have a bunch of clients that are in the same industry, they'll probably be better than just hiring a general business manager. That's the thinking anyway. So Ben was able to figure out who the top ones were in the music and acting space, because that's who he wanted to work with. No time, like when he was first getting those relationships, he never talked to the celebrities. He never talked to the recording artists. He never talked to anybody but the business managers, and the business managers sometimes would have assistants. So that's how far down the food chain Ben was. But guess what they were doing? They're buying houses. They were selling houses. He was building his relationship. Then eventually, as these business managers got more comfortable with him, then he started meeting their clients. He started meeting all kinds of different celebrities. But believe it or not, he had to sign NDAs. He only sort of hinted at who they were. And maybe one or two cases did he tell me who they were, that he didn't have to sign an NDA. But he was working with some of the biggest celebrities in LA, certainly. And that's something that he did. And I was his elite coach. We made that happen within 24 months. Isn't that incredible? And you guys can do the same thing. Now, that market might not be available for you, but there are other markets. Like where Julie and I sold real estate in New Albany. We went to luxury. We started out selling normal homes and we moved up to a very expensive area. Well, we did exactly what we said we did when we decided to sell real estate again in Dorado, where we live now. We made a list where we could have the highest impact in the shortest period of time. And we went there and we started networking there. We didn't just, we didn't hermit up and just play golf with the same people every Tuesday or, go to the gym and wear a hat with your earbuds in and never talk to anybody. We were there intentionally of connecting with people because we knew the downstream benefits of that would be extraordinary, and they were. All right, Julie, let's get to the next point.
All right, perfect. So, number 4, leverage digital marketing and social media. Be seen where they scroll. Affluent clients are on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. Use those platforms to position yourself as the go-to agent for luxury properties. You can create stunning content, share cinematic video tours, just listed reels, spotlight posts on builders or neighborhoods, and stories about luxury amenities. I have an elite coaching client named Dion McManus in LA, okay? She does an amazing job with her videography, okay? Her specialty niche is mid-century modern in LA. And she's super bubbly and cute. And when she does one of these videos on a mid-century modern, she dresses like she's in the 1950s, okay? She has the glasses and the hat, and she's got the personality for it. And she does these beautiful, amazing, fun, not too long, but fun tours of these houses. She does them before open houses. She does them as a coming soon, as it just listed, as it just sold. She does an amazing job of that, and she's making that her thing. So you can do that too. Even if you don't have listings, you can get permission from somebody else with those listings, or you can find a builder with new construction. You don't have to wait to do the things that we're talking about in today's podcast. You just have to be a little bit more creative until you actually break into it.
Let me give a little short reel hack, okay?
Sure.
So if you guys are on Instagram, or even if you're on YouTube doing short reels, on Instagram in particular, you need to, the hashtags don't mean anything anymore. So you need to use the collab thing. And I got to remember how to do it. I don't do it every time, but I do it most times. Let me try to give you guys a crash course. Okay. If I can remember how to do it. I don't remember how to do it, but when you go to, after you write the description, I believe it's the next option, just click on that. And then a thing pops up, says invite others to collaborate. And then you put in you just invite them by putting in their Instagram handle, and then Instagram automatically invites them to collaborate on your particular post. YouTube Reels has something very similar. So bottom line is hashtags don't mean anything anymore. Do the collaborate thing. And then when you're choosing who to collaborate with the clients that you want to do business with. Don't be collaborating with other realtors.
There you go.
Collaborate with the sellers that you want to be connected with. Find out what their Instagram, their social profiles are. Collaborate with them. This is a great new house. This is something that's going on at the local high school. There's a community drive for, whatever, right? Do a little video on it and then collab. I think I don't know what the limit of how many people you can invite to collaborate. And if they accept your collaboration invitation, then your post shows up on their social media, and that costs you nothing. So there you go.
There you are. Okay. All of that is in point number 4 and more. As I said at the top of the podcast, this is not coaching. This is just the podcast to open your eyes to some of these things. Okay. So last but not least is, I think, our mutual favorite. That's number 5, prospecting. You guessed it, high-end expired listings. There are many of them. The higher you go, typically houses take a little bit longer to sell, and sometimes multiple times listed. This is your fast track. Luxury expireds are your best first listing opportunity in the high-end market. There's lots of reasons. The former agent already failed. That agent was probably part of their center of influence, which this is not to replace everything we've already talked about. You may be sometimes that center of influence agent, but when it expires, it's probably their favorite agent didn't do the trick. The pricing has been market tested in most cases. Okay. It depends on how old the expired is. You have access to real-time feedback. They've gotten feedback. You know how to fix it. The seller is now more motivated. They're coachable. And my favorite, you can curate your listing inventory. If you want to be in that neighborhood, go find something that expired in that neighborhood. If you want to raise your average sale price from $500 to $5 million, identify $5 million expireds. You can choose that. Unlike anything else in real estate, except maybe for sale by owners, you can actually choose what your listing inventory is going to be. That gives you a lot of control. And yes, we did personally do this, if you guys are wondering. So,
and when you get that first expired listing, or you get that listing in that, the neighborhood that you've always wanted to sell real estate in, you work it like you've never worked anything in your life. You do neighbors only, you follow all the plans we have in Premier Coaching. You do neighbors only open houses. You do open houses every weekend. You make it a party. Every single person has to know that you are kicking ass on this particular listing, especially if it's an expired.
You only need one and work it really, really well. Do you remember? I think Ely Court was one of our break-in listings.
Yep.
And do you remember we held that thing open in a neighborhood that virtually never had open houses, golf course community,
Well,
high-end
you remember
luxury?
why? Because the other listing agents were, let's be honest, lazy, and they
Yeah, they're
didn't
on the
want to
golf
work,
course all day.
and they didn't work on Saturday and Sunday, and most of them went to Europe in the summer.
Yeah.
And so here was Scrapper, Tim, and Julie, and we were doing these open houses, and we were talking to some of these expired listings that had expired with the summering in France agents, and they'd say, well, my agent told me open houses don't work around here, and we actually had real experience to prove otherwise. And we'd ask them, well, that's curious. Don't you think some of the best buyers are coming through on Sundays when they're here for the weekend looking for properties? I wonder why your agent told you they weren't working on Sundays. Or
And that was after holding an open house where people were like, you know,
you met
standing
them in an
room
open
only.
house, or you met them at an open house
Yeah.
and their listing just expired. So you guys get the point. If you're climbing your way up like Julie and I were, and you weren't born with the silver spoon, and neither of us were, you're going to have to work 10x harder than the agents who were. But I got news for you. They actually don't really know how to compete because they've never really had to. They don't know what it's like to have to compete against someone who has a system, someone who's maybe one of our elite coaching clients, someone who uses a pre-listing pack, someone who knows how to pre-qualify. They just have been able to effectively ride on the coattails of being born in the right place at the right time, in the right environment, knowing the right people. But when the market shifts like what it's doing now, and there's more expired listings, those sellers are going to be smart enough to look for an alternative, and you need to position yourself as such. All right, I did figure out how to do this.
I figured you were.
I'm going to show you guys how to do it. All right, so this is a picture of a dragon sculpture that Julie took, okay, on Sunday. So this is it. You're going to go to next. I'm not going to add a caption, but I am going to click down here where it says tag people. All right. So there's the poll, the prompt, add music. We'll add some dumb music. Okay. We're adding dumb music. All right. Now I'm going to tag people. Okay. And here it says invite collaborators. You can just invite whoever you want to invite and then finish the post. And that's it. And that's how you effectively, if they accept your collaboration, that's how you can expand your reach, because now they're posting something that you wrote for your social media on their social media. And if it's, say, for example, an invitation to an open house, well, that's pretty fire, isn't it? Maybe it's announcing, again, you're trying to help a local community with a toy drive around the holidays, and you're now doing posts every day, essentially promoting the toy drive, and you're inviting collaborators to participate. Look to see the benefit of that. But trust me when I tell you, none of it compares to meeting people in real life. None of it will ever matter if you're not, now, if you're doing the social media stuff and the passive marketing and branding stuff to reinforce the belly to belly stuff, then you're unstoppable. Then you're arriving at a totally different level than all your prospective competitors. And when you apply some of the things you'll learn in elite coaching, and you apply the pre-listing pack, the presentations, the scripts, the systems, you are completely unstoppable. Imagine the confidence you're going to feel. I mean, it's extraordinary. So for those of you who've already messaged me this week about being in Julie and I's schedule, personal schedules to be elite coaching clients, thank you. And there are probably, I've had maybe 15 of these calls so far, and not all of them are a fit, and that's great. A lot of them were, I referred them to one of our other coaches or into Premier Coaching. But there was it 4 of you so far that have decided to take on the challenge of having me as your coach and me having you as a client. Welcome aboard. I'm open to probably 6 more clients, and Julie's looking for 3. So if this is something of interest to you, if you're ready for top level coaching, we're ready for you. Text me directly at 512-758-0206. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, and we'll talk to you on the show tomorrow.